if we're going to look at project management and change, that's the question we have. How does project management relate to change? Okay? Remember that dip, that curve? That's before, during, and after. Well, project management fits into that curve. The #1 implementation tool of any change is going through a project. Does that make sense? I mean, you can't make anything happen in a way that will limit the cost, time, and requirements, or give you the requirements you want, unless you use project management. So, conceptualizing it, planning it, doing it, and transitioning it. Notice I use 4 phases, but I'm trying to use a different word each time, because companies are like that. There's a bunch of different companies out there, and they have their own words for everything. And if you can remember, there's only 4 phases, and they're all the same. Maybe the concept's the same, maybe the words are different, then it will keep you out of a lot of trouble. And they can throw 12 phases at you, but you can line them up in the concept, planning, implementation, and closure. So that's the way I remember it. And sometimes, especially in IT, there's systems engineers involved too, which is maybe not you, maybe you're not the developer, but somebody is, and they're using project management, they're just calling it the waterfall, and they're calling it something else. Okay, now, if we were to look at that curve, another thing to remember about that curve is that dip starts before you start. So before you ever start implementing a change, just a rumor you're going to have a change will start that dip. Okay? And there's a study that back in '92 wrote the first paper on this dip, and for Industrial Management magazine. And the article that we looked at before then, some research, and they said that in a negative situation, a negative change, say cancellation of a project, what happens is that dip starts as soon as people start finding out about that. And that dip is in work output, productivity, quality of the work that's being done. And it starts 4 months before they even start the change. And it'll go on to a year after that. That dip will be a year after that. And they'll only get back up to 80% of their productivity and quality and motivation after that negative change in a year's time. So if they start off at 100, it's going to take them a year to get back up to 80% over negative changes. Those changes aren't well thought out, or that affect people in negative ways. So I think that's kind of interesting, important to know. But anyway, that's where project management fits. If we're going to look at this, then we might say before, during, and after. And there's 5 phases here, and I'm going to add a 6th phase. Because what comes on before a project ever begins is all that PMO type stuff. Policies, procedures, and everything else, right? So that's really the forgotten phase of project management. It's generic to all projects. And then once you get into your specific project, sometime before the change, you start to think about concept. And then you start planning it. And then you're right in the middle of that dip. You're in the implementation phase. And then as you get out of it, as you transfer it to someone else, you're in the transition phase. And then after that, something has to happen. It's operations and maintenance and all those things. Okay, so that sound reasonable? I'll spend more time on that.